I'm here with Kristen Westlake at her gallery called The Dance of Life. And we are in Walworth County looking at these gorgeous wildlife photos. Really, tell us how you got involved in photography.
Well, it kind of happened way back when I was a child. And I always ran around my parents' farm, 120 acres, and I was a hyper little kid. But then I'd stop and I could watch animals for hours. Animals and grass growing, even spider webs and any kind of bird that came along. My dad gave me a camera when I was 12, and that got me started really in photography and photographing what I was seeing and what I was so captivated by. And really, when I was 8, we moved out in the country, and I really have my mom and dad to thank for bringing me into an environment that helped me to be who I am today. If I hadn't grown up out there, they just really kindled my environmental awareness and the awareness of what was out there and how important it is and in the lives of all of us. And so really responsibility towards and stewardship towards the land. Went through a lot of different things in life and then reconnected to it when digital came out. And then all of a sudden people started buying my work. So it just fell back into place and I reconnected to that childhood.
What was the critical point you reconnected with your true love, photography?
Oh gosh, probably just that feeling of knowing what my purpose was in life. And when I went back out there in the field and was connecting with animals, I just knew. I knew that's what I was supposed to do. There was just absolutely no doubt. It didn't matter that I wasn't making money yet at it or anything like that. It just was, there was nothing else I really felt that I should be doing.
We're sitting here right in your gallery and I'm noticing a lot of very colorful pictures. Tell us about your style of photography.
My style, I think, shows my connection to the soul of the animal. I like to catch them in action or behavior or eyes or something that connects me to it, almost like a conversation going on with the animal or the subject. And I'll sit in swamps sometimes for 3 hours at a time or more, just waiting for them to come to me oftentimes, or going back over and over, and they allow me to get closer each time. Although sometimes there's a pond between me and the animal, so I can't really get right up next to them. But shallow depth of field is a style I use with big lenses, which means that I focus on the subject and the rest of the background is usually blurred, so the subject is an artistic style. You can see that in some of the ones like back there, and that just seems to, it's kind of that would be one of a big style type of thing.
Do you enhance your photos at all?
Not a lot with the new cameras that are out, the D2X. I really don't have to. The settings are great within the camera. I will boost contrast a little bit, things that people did in the darkroom. But I try to make them as real. What I see is what I want to show, and not do a lot of enhancement. If I do, I will let people know that I've done it.
Right, and really a lot of action shots. I'm really surprised that you can catch some of these things, like the butterfly in flight and the birds.
It's called patience. You have to wait for it. There's a lot of times people, it's a natural instinct to go in and see a bird and just shoot it and just go, but you really have to be on nature's clock to do that. And it's a lot of fun. It's very meditative.
How do you get your timing right though? I mean, really, do you ever get a shot that you just missed it and you just went, oh?
Sometimes the heron just going out of the screen or something like that. But I shoot fast. Once the animal starts moving, I'm really in click, 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 click.
Yeah,
fast shutter mode.
Exactly. Well, and are most of your pictures from Wisconsin or are some of them elsewhere? How does that work?
Most are from Wisconsin, but I have some from California. I plan to do some trips maybe this winter to Florida and New Mexico, mostly for bird photography. But I love Wisconsin. It's great. We have a large variety of birds, which I love to shoot. Lots of great landscape.
You know, I see a loon picture up there.
The loon shot.
Do you have a story behind that? What is it? I'm dying to know.
My brother and I were out in the canoe up north in Antigo, and they have all these little lakes up there. And my brother and I went out on a canoe, and I wanted to shoot from the canoe. So there's usually just a couple of loons on every lake, just two, maybe a pair. Well, sometimes a loon or loons will come from a neighboring lake and land on the lake, and that's what happened. There were 4 of them. And all of a sudden, we're in the canoe, and that loon decided to just take off. And as he did, he came right towards us. So he's running on the water. They're so bottom heavy because their legs are way in the back, so they take a long time to get flight. So he ran right towards us. My brother yelled, "That loon's coming right towards us!" And I had the position just right, and I was ready to shoot, so I did, and was lucky, got a great shot.
There you go. What other stories do you have?
The fawn has a meaningful story. That fawn was shot in the Kishwaukee Conservancy, which is in Williams Bay. And it was one of 2. The twin in that photo is right behind him. And as I was in the Conservancy, there was a lady in there, and she told me that 2 fawns were just born. So she took me up there, and sure enough, there were 2 fawns, just that the placenta was still there. They were wet on the head, and the mother was there, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and I stayed away, and she just kind of made a sound, and then she ran off. And I think she figured she had a babysitter or something. She didn't mind that I was there. I didn't even get closer. I was shooting telephoto. And then as she went off, I stayed where I was. I didn't want to make her nervous. And then I went away because I wanted her to come back. But then I came back again, and she hadn't come back. And the one in the photo was standing. And as she was standing, I started shooting again. I got a little bit closer. And then at one point, she looked right at me, and she imprinted me. So she started walking towards me, and then she followed me around. And I didn't dare touch her. I wanted to pick her up and just give her a big hug. She wasn't even as high as my knees. She wasn't even as tall as my knees. But she followed me all over, so I finally led her back to her twin and ran out. And then I checked back on him in about half an hour, and the mom had come back.
Yeah.
It was really, really precious.
Well, that's one thing I noticed is you really connect with nature. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really great trait.
Thanks.
Especially if you're a wildlife photographer.
Right.
One thing I also noticed is you have canvas photos. How do you produce that?
It is a different thing. I use a Epson 9600 printer. It's a 44-inch printer, so it's big. It's got archival inks, and it prints on canvas. So I use a very fine art photographer's canvas, actually, that I get from a company in California. It's really nice. It's low texture. It's velvety in feel. And then I print on that, and I've been making limited edition canvases in 3 different sizes. And I stretch them on heavy stretcher boards, which is a tough process. You need a lot of muscle for it. And I usually get a little help from one of my friends. And then I sign them and number them, and then I gloss them too with a varnish, and that keeps them protected.
Right.
So they're waterproof and scratch proof and
Beautiful.
thanks. Yeah, up to 40 by 60 inches. So that's a 40 by 60.
It's huge. But the detail on there is just incredible. I put my nose up to that bird, and you can see every little feather. That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Well, tell me what you have planned for the future.
Maybe more galleries eventually. I really, really want to bring more awareness, I guess, is one of my biggest things. Environmental awareness, or just an awareness in people individually, whatever they are. I'd like to help other people through my photography notice what's out there. Animals and nature have been my greatest teacher in life, so I just think I'd like to pass that on. And I feel really good. I have a nature club on my website, so I send out photos. I call them photos of the day. It's usually a couple times a week to people, and keep them updated on events and workshops that I'll have and things like that. And that just, I know that a lot of people write me and they say that it brings them a lot of serenity. So to me, it's really worthwhile, just because I feel I can give so much back with what I do.
But this sounds like this is your life's calling.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's kind of neat when you just know. You just know it is, and it's not one of those doubted things like, oh, should I be doing this? It's like, no, this is it.